And we're back again. Worth Your Salt, chapter 15. We held Furman's funeral 3 days later, on a Saturday morning. It was a tragically beautiful day, and hundreds of people packed the cathedral as the priest gave the service for the man we all had come to admire and respect. There were plenty of tears when the priest told us stories he had heard about Furman's life. He had touched more than just our lives with his. He had touched thousands of lives with his leadership, generosity, care, and devotion to duty. The world was a better place because of Furman. At last it was time for the friends of the family to walk by the casket to pay their respects. And so they did. Slowly, mournfully, they passed by his coffin. Some reached out and patted his hands. Some spoke soft words only they could hear, while others said nothing, just not trusting their own emotional state. I know it was not the way things are supposed to be done. I half expected someone important to come up to me and tell me I was sitting on the wrong side of the cathedral. I was supposed to be sitting on the friend's side and not the family side, but nobody asked me to move. I was doing okay, I thought, until the waitresses took their walk past Furman's casket. The tears fell unbidden down their cheeks. Their emotions were raw, like a nerve exposed. Their pain real, primal. Especially Miss Fines. Her legs actually buckled, and others caught her before she fell. I was not trying to stop the tears from running down my face. I knew Furman would understand with us being here at his funeral. But I knew I would have to have a clear face when it was my turn to pay my last respects to the man I had come to love. She was there, the lady Furman had made the fried peanut butter sandwich for her. She had no tears on her face. A radiant smile sat there instead. I could see her lips moving, but could not hear what she was saying to him. It took her a while to say all she had come to say, but then she reached out, caressed his face, and kissed him. After which, she walked quietly away, with no sadness upon her face at all. It wasn't long before the family members seated in the back were to come forward and make our way by Furman's casket. Since I was the last person seated in the family section, I was the first to walk by his casket. When I stepped up to Furman's side, he looked as he always had, except for the fact he did not have his hat on. It made him look different. It was like an important part of him was missing, and it was. But I had already spoken to Furman's family and asked if I could do what I had in mind to do, and they had all agreed. So now I pulled from under my arm Furman's beautiful chef's hat, and I placed it beside his pillow. Then I took from my rear pocket a white lace napkin. In it were 2 brand new shiny utensils, a spatula and a cooking fork. I gently slid the napkin and utensils under Furman's left forearm. Then I reached in one coat pocket and pulled out a small jar of peanut butter. And in my other coat pocket, I pulled out an even smaller jar of jelly and placed them in the casket with Furman. I said to him, I know why God called you. He knew how good of a chef you were, and he wanted you for himself. That's okay. We understand. But I will never forget you, mi amigo. Never. And I will make certain heaven hears you coming to its gates. The line of cars to the cemetery was much longer than I imagined it would be. Apparently most of Furman's mourners could not get into the cathedral, so they opted to come to this graveside service instead. Here cars were parked all over the cemetery, on the outside of all the cars in a huge circle, and then running down both sides of the road, leading to the cemetery, were tractor rigs of every color. There must have been hundreds of them. The priest did a little more than normal at the graveside service because he knew most of these people were not able to get into the cathedral. When it was over and everybody who was around the casket had walked by, the priest nodded his head at me. This was the cue I had asked him to do for me. So I walked over to the casket and kissed it. At once, in a great distance, a soft, mournful sound emerged. A moment later, another sound joined the first, and then another and another, each louder than the one before it. One after another, all the truckers who had visited our restaurant and heard about Furman's passing were sounding their horns in tribute to a great man. When every one of those horns was blaring loudly, triumphantly, I looked up to the sky. Here he comes, Lord, I said.